Hi, welcome back to my project this week. I have our Cookwise book with us, and I'm going to make the Buerre Blanc and the Buerre Rouge. These two sauces are emulsion sauces, which are sauces that contain two liquids that normally don't mix together, like oil and water. To make an emulsion sauce, you have to have one liquid that is broken up into tiny little droplets, and a second liquid to go around those tiny little droplets, an emulsifier that keeps the droplets from joining together and separating out from the other liquid. To start our first emulsion sauce, which will be our Buerre Blanc, we are going to chop up 5 medium shallots. We are going to move our chopped shallots over to a medium-sized pot, and then we are going to add 1/3 cup of a medium dry white wine. I chose Woodbridge Pinot Grigio. I could not find any Chenin Blanc at any store I went to. We are also going to add 1/4 white wine vinegar, and I chose Great Value white wine vinegar. We are going to turn the stove to a medium-high heat and boil down our mixture until we get 1/4 of a cup. While this is cooking, I'm going to add that using shallots in this recipe will add sweetness and mellow out the sharpness of the vinegar, and adding more shallots and wine makes the sauce taste more smooth and mellow rather than bitter. I know it's hard to see through the onions, but I would say we're at 1/4 cup of mixture. Now we are going to add a 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream from Great Value and reduce down to 1/4 a cup again. The cream adds emulsifiers, which aids our butter in making the sauce thicker, creamier, and more stable. Alrighty, this is what my sauce is starting to look like. It's down to 1/4 cup again, so we're going to remove it from heat and add our butter. We are going to whisk in 3 sticks of unsalted sweet cream butter from Great Value until it is fully incorporated. The butter contains milk solids, which are our main emulsifier today. Just like the emulsifiers that exist in the cream, they are chemical emulsifiers. Chemical emulsifiers have a oil-loving end and a water-loving end. They coat the droplet, which in this case are the butter fats, and separate them from the rest of them, breaking the surface tension that exists. Without the surface tension, the second liquid, which is water in our case, is able to freely move around in between each droplet. Back to the sauce, my butter wasn't fully mixing in, so I returned to the hot burner on low heat, and I put a digital thermometer in there so I could watch and make sure it did not get up to 130 degrees as I was melting the last bit of butter. For my last ingredient, I added 1/4 teaspoon of my Morton sea salt fine and whisked it in. I took it off the heat after this so it wouldn't get too hot, but I did not catch it on camera, as you see right here. After whisking that in, I rinsed out my thermos in hot but not boiling water and placed the sauce in there so I could keep it while I cooked the second sauce and my dinner. Moving on to the Buerre Rouge, we are going to puree 5 medium shallots with about 1 to 2 tablespoons of red wine. And first I'm going to chop them up so it's easier for the blender to puree. And I ended up having to switch blenders halfway through because this blender was not doing that great of a job. The second blender made quick work of it. We are comparing 2 things between both the recipes. 1, how does pureed shallots versus extra cream thicken the sauce? And 2, how does using the full bottle of wine and boiling it down intensify the flavor? Once that is pureed, we are going to add it to our large saucepan and then add our full bottle of wine. We are going to boil this down until it gets to about 1/3 cup. It says in the book it should take about 10 minutes, but it took about 19 minutes to get the desired result. I forgot to show this earlier, but I am using the Woodbridge Cabernet Sauvignon, which is a dry, dark red wine. The reduction of the red wine does not only change the flavor, it intensifies it. Many of the acids and other substances in the food have relatively low boiling points, and these compounds evaporate during the reduction just as the water in the wine does. Once my sauce got to about 1/3 cup, I took it off the heat and whisked in the butter. It is the same butter as I used earlier, and it is also softened as the one earlier. With my butter fully whisked in, I added 1/2 teaspoon of my Morton sea salt fine salt and 1/2 teaspoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice and whisked that in. This is what my Buerre Rouge ended up looking like. I poured it into a thermos, treated it the same way as the first one until my dinner was done and I was ready to use it. The food I paired the sauces with was steak, mashed potatoes, shrimp, and asparagus. We celebrated Father's Day a little bit late, and since I had this project coming up, we took advantage of that and splurged a little bit. My Buerre Blanc was a lot more thick and creamy, and I suspect that is because of the milk that was thickening it. It also had a much milder taste, but I quite enjoyed it. The Buerre Rouge, however, had a much more intense taste, but it was a lot thinner, and I think it's because it just had the butter and the shallots thickening it. My thoughts on the red one is it was a little bit of a fancier tasting A1 sauce, and the white one was just an elevated, yummy sauce overall.